for our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series.
Watson, touchdown! Hunter Renfrow.
He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers.
Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
Board, the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and driven by our friends and yours at Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at stokesvw.com. Find us on the JB and Goldwater app. You can download that. It's free, and you can watch and listen to our program daily. And if you happen to miss something, you can always go back and check it out as well. Always head to jbandgoldwatershow.com. You can also purchase some new articles of clothing or whatever you so desire, maybe a sweet cup or a mug or whatever, as part of the It's Time for Carolina Football collection that we have available at jbandgoldwatershow.com. We also have a JB and Goldwater collection, and you might want to sip your bourbon out of one of those items. So if you head to our website, you can do that. A bunch of folks have been taking us up on that. So we really appreciate it. jbandgoldwatershow.com. Across all social media platforms at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. 843-321-8893 is our phone number and our text line. You can always send us a message just like Clint already has. If you are on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, wherever, pop us a note and we'll get it up on the screen and make it a part of our program. Obviously, last night, game one of the College World Series was played a little bit late due to some weather in the area, but Vandy wins game one. Jack Leiter, for the most part, was Jack Leiter. Going to talk plenty about that. We've got Gene Sapakoff ahead at 12:30 today. Mike Yuva at 1:05. He will tell you the stories and the experiences from this past weekend's Big George event is what we'll call it, but the George Rogers Foundation, their 30th year anniversary, a golf tournament, dinner. Mike got to play golf in Steve Spurrier's group. He'll tell you about that. Meredith Taylor played really damn well, and she always does. So there's a lot of stories to come at the top of the 1 o'clock hour from Atlanta. And speaking of Atlanta, that's where Mike Morgan is. He'll join us at 1:30 today. So obviously we're going to get into the World Series with him. And we were pulling for our local boys last night, but Chris Lamonis and Scott Fox are going to have to try to get it done tonight in game two. All right, Darren, before I bring you in here, we do have some news from the recruiting front for South Carolina. A welcome home tweet sent out by Shane Beamer just a little while ago. That will be announced today. It has not been announced. This one, though, now has, and this young man was already committed to the program. This is one of the unknowns that we had coming into today for South Carolina football. There were 3, quote, welcome home tweets for prospects that their identities had not been revealed. This one is a big one in more ways than one for Carolina. Number one, he's a 4-star talent. Number two, he is a 6'6", 300-pound offensive lineman from your neck of the woods, my friend. Ryan Brubaker has made his official pledge to Gamecock football as an offensive tackle. It is now public. He has put it out himself on Twitter 2 minutes ago. And so Carolina now has another piece to the puzzle. Once the announcement comes out later today about the one that Shane tweeted out earlier, and then a couple of others become public in the next few days, Carolina, from what I understand, will be well inside the top 25, if not the top 20, in their recruiting rankings. So that is some breaking news for all the Gamecock football fans out there.
You know, when we talked to JC about this 2 weeks ago, I brought up Brubaker specifically because he is a Penn State legacy and a 4-star offensive lineman. So you'd think if you're a big hoss with a Penn State guy who played at Penn State as your dad, that you'd want to go there. But JC was leaning pretty heavily that he didn't, that he wanted to, for whatever reason, get out of the state, maybe get out of his dad's shadow, just start his own type of legacy. And JC was saying that the Gamecocks are right in the mix. I think he was even leaning on Penn State being the third of 3 for Brubaker, I believe, if not just the second. But that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Wes Mitchell said yesterday when you were talking about another offensive lineman that maybe you're going to go over the numbers a little bit, the Gamecocks, in terms of tackles. And there you go. And you do that because when you got a talent out there who can come in and make an impact, whether immediately or in a year after some weight and nutrition, you take them and you figure it out later.
That's right. That's right. It's been a flurry. I think, gosh, if my numbers are correct, and they might not be here, but I think that's 10 commitments in about 10 days for Shane Beamer, which is pretty remarkable. And you know, they're not just taking anybody. I mean, they're taking some pretty talented guys. And so, yeah, you know, when you and I want to get to the World Series. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. We had Wes yesterday. We're going to have JC tomorrow for a full hour. But you know, when you're coming off of 2 wins, 6 combined wins over the last 2 years, and you got a new coaching staff, Darren, sometimes it you know how it goes. It just takes a little time to kind of get things working. And a lot of these guys want to see some improvement on the field before they think it's best for them to head to a place that hasn't been that successful recently. But that's not happening at South Carolina right now. This is they were preparing for the month of June from the get-go for the most part. Everybody kind of knew that at some point in time in the summer, the recruiting would kind of open up as far as the COVID stuff. They'd have to open the doors at some point. And I think, Darren, correct me where I'm wrong here. I want to say it was somewhere back in March, maybe early April. We kind of started to get the hints that, look, right around Memorial Day, they're probably going to let the floodgates open back up here. Folks be able to go take visits and things like that. That's what we knew publicly. Well, just imagine what college coaches actually kind of knew behind closed doors, right? So they all started putting plans in place, and you know, I'm not just talking about South Carolina. I'm talking about everybody across the country. But for a rebuilding program in South Carolina, they knew that, okay, well, when June hits or whenever they do open this up, we not only have to be ready to go, we have to be ready to capitalize. And they've capitalized. I don't know if I know somebody out there who looks at my colors and thinks, well, he just sees through garnet glasses. I would say this about anybody. I don't know how more you could capitalize than what they've done. I mean, there's some big names still on the board, just like every school, and those names are going to take their time because they're not going to lose a spot in a recruiting class. And you're probably going to, have to prove it on the field a little bit to some of those guys. You might not get commitments till later on in the fall from them, but the groundwork that they have laid and what they've been able to do, it's Darren, it's impressive. I mean, it really is impressive, man.
So yeah, you do have to prove it on the field. And I'll say this as a neutral guy here, there's reason for Carolina to have optimism for 2 reasons. Number one, the recruiting is exceeding expectations. We all had pretty tempered expectations. Maybe this class can be decent based on a number of different factors. How many guys are going to come in, who you're getting in the transfer portal, a number of different things. There wasn't an expectation coming into this summer of a top 25 recruiting class, or really much talk of even approaching a top 25 recruiting class. So there's reason for optimism there. There's also reason for optimism because Carolina fans are starving for something good. And this gives you something good. Now, allow me to just pour a little water on it. You do have to do it on the field. I'm impressed to see how quickly Beamer and staff are picking up high-valued prospects. I've always held the belief in recruiting. Okay, let me see what you do once you get there. But recruiting rankings do matter. It does put a foundation on campus. They are having a better summer than, at least early on, than I ever expected. And now let's see if they can prove it on the field. Let's see if this staff, largely in new roles for all of them, if they can put this product to use on the field and how quickly.
Yeah, I think that they've certainly exceeded my expectations. Not that I didn't have them at all. I think that a lot of what we've heard is kind of showing itself now, which is that this staff, they can recruit. They're passionate about where they're from. And if you look at a lot of these the prospects that they're signing, are they beating Alabama and Clemson for prospects? Well, no, of course not. They're not going to until they, as you mentioned, prove it on the field. But the guys that they are signing, number one, are really good football players. But there's also a developmental side to them. These are kids that are high upside type kids who are going to be able to come in and develop. And these were kind of the messages that were sent our way for the last 6 months, basically, since Shane got hired and the staff got put together is, look, we're going to be relentless out there in recruiting kids. We're going to recruit kids that we can develop. And we love this place. And when they step on campus, they're going to know about it. And, I don't know that there is any other way to describe this flurry of commitments, young men who are jumping in this boat right now, other than not only did they step on campus and see something that they liked, facilities and all that, but they instantly felt comfortable and felt some type of credibility from their future coaches. And
they're selling it well. Everything we're seeing publicly inside these open doors that Beamer shows us, that his staff shows us via social media, everything we're seeing is going on behind the scenes as well. That's true because these kids are believing in it. He is selling a belief because that's all he has right now. He is selling a belief that this can be something maybe that it's never been, or at least selling the belief that it can be what it was in those few great Spurrier years. But whatever he's selling, they're currently buying. And that is impressive.
Yeah, it is. It is. There's no doubt. Ryan Brubaker, the newest commitment to South Carolina, 6'6". They've listed him at 280 from what I understand. He's a little bit closer to 300 now. He is a national top 250 prospect, and he is another enormous tackle for the Gamecocks in this class. It is expected at some point in time today, this morning's new commitment will be revealed as well, and South Carolina's class will continue to ascend up the rankings if you pay attention to those type things. So our eyes will be on it. We'll pass along the information that we get. There are still, as we came into today, 3 unannounced prospects, but 2 have been the same. That third one is now flip-flopped because Brubaker has come publicly with his commitment, and this morning's commitment is still private until he'll reveal it. But
the Gamecocks got better today because anytime you've got Penn State blood in your program, you're better. And he may be a Gamecock, but he's made of Penn State blood.
Oh, God, here we go. Here we go. Well, whatever. I don't think people care. As long as he can play, I think that's that's all that matters. But and yeah, I like Tyler's comment there. Positivity is all over every staff member down there. That's true. When I was in there a couple of weeks ago, it was just different. It's hard to explain it till you go see it and get around it a little bit. It was really neat. All right, 12:14 on a Tuesday afternoon. Again, Gene Sapakoff ahead in about 15 minutes. Let's go back to last night's ball game between Vanderbilt and Mississippi State. This one was pretty much over in the first inning, Darren. I don't know about you, but once I saw Vandy hang 7 on the board with Jack Leiter on the mound, it didn't seem very realistic that Mississippi State would be able to pull themselves out of that.
It was impressive what Mississippi State was able to mount. They just couldn't get enough big hits. They were able to get guys on against Leiter. They had traffic on the bases in a lot of his later innings. They just couldn't get multiple hits strung together. For a little bit there, I was thinking maybe we've already seen him come back. We've already seen him dead on the mat with a no-hitter into the 8th. I was thinking for a minute maybe they could pull it off, but Leiter, when he finished off that 6th or 7th, his last inning, yeah, got out of that jam right there. That to me was saying probably not.
Yeah, probably the last time we'll see Jack Leiter in college baseball as well, for folks that maybe didn't think about it that way. But his line: 6, 3 hits, 2 earned, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. You know, he had to battle a little bit here and there. He did give up that solo shot in the first inning up there in Starkville, Nebraska. I don't know if anybody was paying attention last night, but I have never seen a fan base. LSU, I hear you, and I appreciate you, but you hadn't showed up like Mississippi State has. Nobody has. It is really remarkable at what that fan base has done. Bravo to State fans for making the trip up there. I hope it's all worth it by tomorrow night, because they're going to have to win today and tomorrow to win their first ever national championship in any sport in Starkville, Mississippi. They've never won a national championship in any sport, almost in women's basketball 4 years ago, but the Lady Gamecocks made sure that didn't happen back in 2017. So Christian McLeod was not good for Mississippi State. He's a kid who, if you have followed college baseball in this state, he really reminds me of starting left-hander now for the New York Yankees, Jordan Montgomery. Looks just like him, has similar stuff. But last night, you know, I don't know. He hasn't been great as of late. I don't know what it was, but dude, you just got to attack, man. I mean, you know, if they light you up, they light you up, but you can't nibble. And he was nibbling, and then he walked a couple guys, and then he looked around and realized that of the 25,000 people there, about 20,000 of them were Mississippi State folks, and he didn't have it. A couple hit by pitches, just couldn't get it going. You could see the frustration on Scott Foxhall and Limo's faces when they both had to go out and see him there in the first inning. And then after that, they kind of pieced it together. So all in all, I mean, they didn't have a bullpen guy. I'm looking at the stats right now. Throw over 30 pitches, so they're good. I mean, they're fine tonight, tomorrow. They got plenty of arms. Does Mississippi State. And they also don't have to see Jack Leiter again. And Kumar Rocker, if he does throw tomorrow, if they get to a game 3, you got to wonder, I mean, he'll be ready, but will he be ready as he would normally be without full rest? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. I don't know. I mean, you're pitching in game 3 of the World Series, winner take all. You give it everything you got. But
has Vanderbilt announced tonight's starter? They were alluding last night on the broadcast that it would be Rocker tonight.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think they've announced, but I would really be shocked if I saw that. I don't think it would be him, but you might be right. I don't know.
They were speculating about the possibility, and at least leading me to believe that that's what they thought, whether that happens or not. I thought Kyle Peterson towards the end of the game had an interesting thought. He said, I didn't think Mississippi State had to win tonight, game 1, to win the College World Series, but I felt like Vanderbilt did, because if Vanderbilt drops the game that Leiter throws, then you got to favor Mississippi State to get one of the next 2. So that's why he felt that you needed, if you were Vanderbilt, to take game 1, whereas if you're Mississippi State, you can survive that game 1 loss and still come off the mat. That's what Kyle Peterson said towards the end of that broadcast.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. I mean, Mississippi State, they're not looking at tonight's game at all. Matter of fact, from a text that I got earlier, that they're down 0-1. That's not even been a thought. They actually, after the game last night, they're like, all right, well, see you tomorrow. You know, nothing. And you know what? If it ends tonight and they're on the losing end, yeah, it'll sink in, certainly. But they haven't done that all year. They haven't looked at anything. I mean, they got hammered in the SEC tournament. That didn't bother them one bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it just that's the makeup of the staff over there. I mean, Limo and Fox and that entire group, they just don't. And they got senior leadership, the Jordan kid, the Tanner Allen kid. These guys have been around. You know, this is whatever. Yeah, they'll be fine. And you know, here's the thing too. We talked about it yesterday. And I didn't bring it up, and I should have. Yeah, they beat Jack Leiter earlier in the season. They beat him game 2, I think, in March.
Like in April. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, somewhere in there. Probably weren't going to beat him again. You know, he's just this dude. He's not going to lose twice the same guy. I mean, just like offensive guys make adjustments, so do pitchers. He clearly made one. But, again, the air was popped in that balloon in the first inning. And when you looked up on the scoreboard and you're down 6 runs to Jack Leiter, I texted I actually texted Tony Skoll last night after that 7 spot, and I said, well, they better come back and try to get 2 or 3 in the next couple of innings, because if he settles in, it's over. And he texted back and said, you're dead on. And, that's pretty much what happened. So the question I have, which this is a question more for the media boys, as Spurrier would say.
Mm-hmm.
If Vandy wins this, what will public perception be of this year's national champion versus if Mississippi State wins it?
Well, because of what happened to NC State, you're already seeing this pretty heavily because of what happened with NC State and them pretty much getting a walkover into the championship series. It will not be viewed consistently across the board. I think the overweighing opinion will be, especially from the national folks who are around the game, I think the majority of respected opinion will say, look, it's unfortunate how they got there. No one wanted to get there or see a team get there the way it happened, but it's very much a legit national championship. But there will be a very heavy swell of no shot is this legit. Whether Vanderbilt wins or Mississippi State wins, the whole thing is tainted because of what happened. I think the majority opinion will be that of what I have. It's still a pretty impressive accomplishment to go win the College World Series.
I agree with you. Consistency. I think that was a great word to use there. Look, you could have asked me back in February, do you think Vanderbilt will win the national championship? And I would have said yes, simply because of their front end guys. And then when you saw their lineup, you're like, good Lord, give me a break. So I do think, as painful as it is for NC State, I don't like what happened to them. I would have literally probably not done that. I know a lot of people might disagree with me, but I would have found a different way to keep them in there, even if they only had 9 guys. I'd have left it up to them to play. And if they said we're going to play with 9 guys, and have at it. But it's over. So I look at it just like you said. Yeah, look, I'll still think that Vandy is a worthy champion just because I know what type of team they are. We've seen them play all year. What I felt last night was, and I would venture a guess on it truthfully, that there's well over 15,000 NC State fans there. Let's also remember, place seats about 25,000, but it was 90%, if not more, in favor of the Bulldogs. So that kind of told me a couple of things. One, it took me in my memory bank back to South Carolina when they made their run. They were the darlings of Omaha, and they weren't until they beat Clemson and got into the championship series in 2010. And then, there weren't a lot of people up there that were pulling for UCLA. South Carolina had been to Omaha a bunch, 2, 3, 4, 70s, 80s. And they were kind of known, and it just kind of felt like Carolina's time. And that town really adopted the Gamecocks. And then when they returned in 2011, they were Omaha's team. I mean, they wanted to see them do it. And then we all remember what happened in 2011. I mean, the Magic in the Virginia games and the Florida games. I mean, the Oklahoma, the A&Ms. I mean, those 2 years, there were so many magical things that happened. This Mississippi State team has similar feelings. There are reminders of what happened 10 years ago in that run to South Carolina. So I feel like, in addition to the NC State situation, that just the common baseball fans up in Omaha who are just going to enjoy the World Series, they've adopted in Mississippi State.
Anyone who's followed the College World Series for years, decades, right? Omaha adopts a team. And they're not just going to adopt the best team. They're not adopting as the casual fans who are out there. They're not adopting the favorite. They adopt a team that they like how they're playing. They adopted NC State. NC State became Omaha's team, if you will, during this College World Series. So whatever fans are left over from NC State, I assure you, they're on that Mississippi State side now. And if anyone was on the fence and, all right, who am I going to adopt now? They're leaning Mississippi State because of the way they play, because of the fact that they're not the favorite, because they don't have 2 top 10 picks to front their rotation, for a number of reasons, because they're not Vanderbilt, who walked over their team, for a number of reasons. This is now the adopted team in Omaha.
Yeah, I really like it, and it's not just a personal thing because of our relationship with Lemo and Scott Foxhall. I really like how Mississippi State plays the game. I like the kids on that team. I like how they battle out there. They remind me of an old school college baseball team. That's what they remind me of. Vanderbilt's new school. I mean, they're just loaded with talent. They have guys, everybody that throws 100. They have 50 draft picks, and we could go down the rabbit hole of how they get kids tuition paid for and things like that, but we're not going to. Mississippi State just reminds me of that old school college baseball team. The guys. Yeah, I mean the guys with the dirty pants and they're getting after it and they're flying all over the place and they're having a good time while they're doing it. The big eye black strips that are all messed up and things like that. I mean, I don't know. People like that, and hopefully Mississippi State. I'm gonna go ahead and predict this. They'll win tonight. This is going to game 3. They're not going 2-Q in the championship series. I'll predict that. I'll put $5 on it for you.
I agree with you. I do think Mississippi State wins, and that eye black that you're talking about, the way they present themselves, there's a toughness there. There's a don't mess with me aura about them. There's a lot that reminds me, and I've only been down here for 20 years. I was not here in the 90s when the team went to the College World Series, but I was here long enough to see some of the best Citadel teams, and that toughness, that don't mess with me or there will be consequences, and then how they play, that was a trademark of all of the good ones. There's a lot about this Mississippi State team that, at least to me, and I could be very well biased here, but in my eyes, it does resemble what the Citadel built.
Should. The head coach is Chris Lemonis. 12:27 on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm with you, Tyler. Make it a DB's cheesesteak, and you got a deal. You got a deal, my friend. I'll always put a cheesesteak on it. Before we get to break again, Gene Sapakoff, Mike Uva, and Mike Morgan in succession today to roll us right through 2 o'clock on the JB and Goldwater show. Guys, if you haven't been watching what Kyle Schwarber's doing, this is ridiculous. I know Darren's being facetious with this title, greatest hitter of all time.
I did make the graphic, so yeah, I had fun.
But right now he's certainly acting like it. I think the only other time in the history of baseball that we've seen a 15 home run in 17 days span, I think Sosa did it in 98 and Bonds in 2001?
Yeah. 15 homers in 17 games has only been done twice, like you just mentioned, Bonds and Sosa. He's got 5 multi-homer games this month. He's the 4th player in big league history to have ever done that. 15 homers this month are tied for the second most in a single month in June ever. Sosa did that. He's got 6 leadoff homers in 17 games. He has 23 hits in his last 17, 8 of which have not been home runs. And he's the first guy in MLB history to homer 11 times out of the leadoff spot over a span of 13 games, and he's got 12 in that span. What Schwarber is doing, and let me tell you, he's not tapping these balls out of the park. His leadoff homer last night went to the moon. The Nationals make red seats in the upper deck anytime someone hits it, that was hit as far as any Bryce Harper ball right down that right field line in that stadium ever. And I've seen most of them. And I saw that one. And the guys in the dugout laugh. He swings and the guys are just laughing. In this streak, something that had not happened, he had not hit a home run on an inside pitch. That's the upper decker he hit down the line. He had not homered off a slider. That was his second homer last night.
Well, and, those who maybe don't understand baseball as much, I don't mean that in a bad way at all, but it's a common question that's asked when somebody's doing this. Well, don't pitch to him. Yeah, he's the leadoff guy. You don't walk the leadoff hitter. I mean, you just don't. You walk the leadoff guy and bad things happen. Yeah, bad things are happening when he's swinging the sticks. They are. But you can't just walk the leadoff guy. You got to pitch to him. And the thing is, Darren, as you mentioned, it's not like, it's his second, third, and fourth times around the lineup. He's hitting leadoff home runs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. There's nothing you could do. You just hope that he cools off at some point in time.
There were a couple of questions to Rojas, the Mets manager, following the game. He's like, what do you do? Because right after Schwarber led the game off last night with a home run, the following pitch, Trey Turner homered Turner, you can make a good argument, is the most underrated player in the game right now.
Yeah,
he's got 13 or 14 homers. He's hitting over 300. He's one of the better defensive shortstops. Behind him is a Juan Soto guy, and behind him is Bell, who's been swinging it a little bit better. The Nationals have played great ball. They're 3 out of first place. The problem is now they're about to end this month with 2 against the Rays. Then they're going to play 4 with the Padres. They've got the Dodgers and the Giants. They have 4 of the best 7 win teams in Major League Baseball as the next 4 teams to close out the break, or the first half.
Yeah, 7:05 tonight. Rich Hill and Joe Ross will go at it. Tampa and Washington in Washington tomorrow as well at 4:05. And then coming to town are the Los Angeles Dodgers to open the month of July. So at the end of the day, though, I just don't know that there's anybody out there who can really cool this dude off. I mean, he'll have to do it to himself. He's just so locked in. This is really, I mean, I can't believe, like last night, I couldn't believe it when I looked down. I said, oh my God, he just hit his second one. What is going on here?
You know, the breaking tee guys, they make t-shirts instantly when something is trending. There's a t-shirt that's out there. Kyle Schwarber just homered again. I may as well purchase that thing.
I bet you will.
I might.
I'm sure you'll see it on the show here before the end of the week. Yeah, it's incredible. Just another great storyline, by the way, in Major League Baseball. That I feel like Major League Baseball. I mean, they're doing all they can to prop this up, but at this point in time, I say this a lot. I feel like Major League Baseball has just isn't marketed well, and I just think it's a TV contract issue. There just needs to be more games weeknights on national regular old television. You need
to see your team. It's hard to watch the Braves in a Braves market. It's hard.
And I can't watch them.
Right. And it's going on. It's not just here.
And when they're on ESPN, I can't watch them.
That's right.
Blackouts. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable.
Yep.
I mean, it's ridiculous. This is South Carolina. Atlanta is 4.5 hours away from where I live.
It's happening.
I can't watch the damn Braves.
Over the country. All over the country, this is happening.
Yeah, they're worried about sticky stuff, but nobody can watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Braves are 4.5 back of the Mets. As you mentioned, though, the Nats have moved into second in the East, 3 games back of New York. All right, we got to hit a timeout. When we return, Gene Sapakoff with the Post and Courier right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. It's springtime and we're playing ball. Most dealerships don't have any inventory, but at Stokes Volkswagen we do. So we're playing ball on every new Volkswagen in stock. Every new Volkswagen available with 0 down. Qualified buyers can sign and drive with interest-free financing for 60 months. Remember, Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road is the fastest, easiest way to sell your car and get the most money for your trade. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, paid off or not. Is your credit in a slump?
Strike 2.
If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, our lenders can get you approved. So if you want to strike out, that's okay. But if you want to hit a home run and save on a new Volkswagen, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road or StokesVW.com.
$1,666 per month per $1,000 borrowed for 60 months at 0% APR with 0 down. Plus tax tag. Includes $499.50 administration fee. Subject to BCI credit approval. Expires month end.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Shrimping season's back. That means local caught shrimp. That's right. Local caught shrimp back on the menu at the Dog and Duck. All 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road, now featuring once again local caught hand-breaded shrimp, plus other daily specials like the Game Day Burger every Wednesday, Rib Night on Friday, rotating taps all the time, and all the TVs you can possibly imagine for whatever you want to watch. The Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and online.
12:35 Tuesday afternoon. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, the 29th of June. As a matter of fact, that means there's one more day in this month by my math, and then off to July we go. Gene Sapakoff, generally at 1:30 on this date, is 12:30 today. He's been kind enough to move up a little bit to accommodate Mike Morgan, who had to record an interview. He'll come at 1:30 this afternoon, but we'll take Gene anytime. He is a 7-time and should be 17-time Sports Writer of the Year in the state of South Carolina. Hey, Gene.
Is Darren at this point right now wearing a Kyle Schwarber jersey? That's what I want to know.
Oh, so right before break, I pointed out, the guys breaking tees that create T-shirts on the whatever's popular going on? There's a T-shirt that they put out last night. Kyle Schwarber just homered again. And I tweeted it out. I said, I think I'm going to have to buy this.
You're going to have to make that purchase. There's no doubt.
Because he homered again after that. That was after his leadoff homer, and then he homered again.
There you go.
I'm not excited or anything.
He has his Natitude with him today, Gene. There's no. Do you have a Natitude shirt? You've got to have one, right?
I have multiple shirts from that World Series run. So I was there when they won the wild card. So I've got a bunch of NL champ things from the World Series, blankets. I don't have anything that says Natitude. Bunch of hats, bunch of visors.
Gene, how about we'll create a Natitude fund. We'll get him some Natitude stuff. Are you willing to pitch into that?
Yeah, because it sounds like he does not have enough national gear, so he needs some more.
That's right. That's right. All right, Gene. First of all, welcome, my friend. Good to hear from you. And next time we talk to you, it'll be in July, so a whole month away. But let's go right to Omaha, Nebraska, or Starkville. Either one. They're pretty much one and the same these days. With the state fans have just packed the joint. But they lost last night, 8-2, the final score against Vanderbilt. Clearly, for us here in the Low Country, we're following the storylines of Scott Foxhall and Chris Lemonis, and hoping that maybe, or at least I am hoping they can win a national championship. Let's go back, Gene, to when basically you were. I mean, let's go back 30 years. What do you remember about Scott Foxhall and Chris Lemonis as just young players, and even after that, young assistant coaches at the Citadel and at the College of Charleston?
Well, I will just totally embrace this College World Series Finals because it also includes Tim Corbin, who before becoming a great assistant coach in Clemson's most glorious baseball years, really just got the Presbyterian program going from NAIA to NCAA status. And that's a great story too. Although, I love the Mississippi State thing and Hale State. Hopefully this goes to at least 3 games, and it would be cool to see the Bulldogs win because, as you say, Foxhall and Lemonis. But first of all, they were both just such gamer type players. They were talented, very talented, but a little bit of underdog edge to each of them. And just terrific team guys too. And the coaches that they played for, Secretary at College of Charleston in the Foxhall case, and Chow Pork being the head coach that led the Bulldogs to that ridiculously great College World Series in 1990. And more than that, they were good before and after that too. Recognized in these guys that they would be good coaches, and they both became coaches at really young ages. But here's the thing, too. Not only did they play against each other at College of Charleston and the Citadel, they coached against each other as assistants at College of Charleston and the Citadel. And I think you guys know this, but, the coaches at Clemson and South Carolina, you do a lot, but there's just a certain status there. You're not maybe out doing rec league clinics as often as you are when you're at a school like the College of Charleston or the Citadel. So Lemonis and Foxhall, besides all of their great Citadel teammates, guys like Geddes Glaze and Johnny Cribb and Anthony Jenkins at the Citadel. And for Foxhall, I mean, he coached such great players. Josh McLaughlin, Ryan Johnson, Brett Gardner, so many good players at the College of Charleston, plus all of his teammates. I mean, they touched a lot of just, people around the Low Country because they were doing so many clinics and camps and things like that. That's what's so beautiful about this from the Mississippi State perspective, and Tim Corbin with Vanderbilt, just all over the Palmetto State with Presbyterian and Clemson connections.
Just awesome points. Gene, we spoke yesterday to Tony Skull, Dan McDonald, and Ralph Civiteri, all three of them on our program, and they all were able to bring different perspectives and tell different stories from the old days around here, right? And one of the things that I always like to, it's personal to me because I spent so much time out there as a kid, but I do feel like these stories need to be told more often, and this is related to the College of Charleston specifically, is the story of Rimley's Point. And you've been around here for all this. You've seen it all. You knew what the sand gnats were like out there. You knew that the locker room leaked. You knew that Tony Schufo had to call games from a table behind a fence. I mean, when you look back,
covering. So if it's drizzling, it's drizzling on his head.
That's right. That's right, with electricity, which wasn't good. But like when you look at that, I mean, I think it's always neat to discover where people come from and why they are the way they are and who they are and why they are who they are and things like that. Scott Foxhall, I mean, Ralph told the story about, his family being Auburn people. He was a walk-on at Auburn, and then Ralph lures him to Charleston. And you look at what they did over there at Patriots Point. Gene, name one program today in college baseball who would be successful with those facilities. And look what Scott Foxhall has done because of those facilities.
Well, yeah, and he's had a great impact at every program he's been at. The NC State program that made the College World Series, and we know the terrible situation of them having to leave Omaha, but he built some of that as the pitching coach there, did a good job at Auburn, and was a vital part of John Pulowski's coaching staff at College of Charleston. Ralph can speak a lot more than I can about what kind of a player he was with the Cougars, but I can tell you the guy just oozes sincerity. Even doing youth clinics, when I used to coach little kids in Mount Pleasant playing baseball, so we'd take them to the College of Charleston for a clinic, and he just would spend extra time with the kids. Similarly, the Citadel would always send coaches over to West Ashley, Goose Creek, Somerville, Mount Pleasant, James Island to, conduct clinics or be guest speakers, coaches that were just so busy themselves with recruiting and coaching and stuff. And Chris Lamonis just is a guy that people would just gravitate to and listen to, and he could relate to a 12-year-old ball player or a 17-year-old recruit or a 20-year-old college baseball star like few other people could.
Gene Sapakoff with the Post and Courier. As part of our conversation with as they call him, the Yankee yesterday, Dan McDonald, he mentioned, and I was talking to Tony off the record, but I can mention it on the record. Tony mentioned that Limo, these guys, they're always willing to do interviews in Charleston. They're always, if somebody calls them from this area, hey, can you, like us, can you come on our show? Can we interview you for an article in the Post and Courier with Gene Sapakoff? Can we do a TV spot? Whatever it is, they're willing to do it. Number one, because they care about the community, but because they care about the Citadel. What do you think that? Describe that. I mean, you've been around the Citadel baseball program a long time. This brotherhood, these guys go on, their head coaches at Louisville, Mississippi State, competing for national championships. But in the back of their mind always, Gene, is the Citadel.
Well, yeah, and McDonald's one of those guys too, if he speaks about Lamonis doing the thing. But yeah, they're all like that. And just no better example that when those guys get together for whatever reason, the 1990 team, for instance, most of those guys are quite successful in business and in life, but guys like McDonald and Lamonis are way more famous than the others that, have kind of gone into other fields of work, but they're just one of the guys. There's like nothing else to that. Like, oh yeah, that's right, I make, $500,000 or more a year, or way more. And but hey, we're all buds, we're all Citadel guys. And more than that, you talk about taking calls from media around here. they've never forgotten where they came from and who their buddies are for life. And I think that's just really cool. And that's the way they've been at every stop that they have been, too. And again, I'm going to keep mentioning the same goes for Tim Corbin and Presbyterian players that played for him way, way back, because he was there for 8 years or 6 or 8 years before being at Clemson for a very long run, like 93 to 02 or something, by far their best years. So it's just really cool to see all these guys being involved and having so much to do with baseball, like I said, all over the Palmetto State. Every little youth field just about has some sort of tie to Chris Lemonis, Scott Vauxhall, or Tim Corbin.
Mm-hmm. It's a great point. I'm going to ask you a question, and maybe this is something that you can study up on and get us an answer to in the future. I don't have the time to dig into it. I don't know if you do either, but I did think of it top of mind last week with Mike Morgan. How many states have 4 or more schools that have been to the College World Series?
California's got a ton. It's like 13.
Okay, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Texas.
Well, if you do that thing by population, it's probably going to be a really nice Palmetto State thing there. That's really cool. And there's no doubt about it. And I think that, we've done various charts like that with baseball, players in college or maybe even professional baseball, but I've not seen one exactly like that. That's a good idea, Jamie.
Honestly, if you really think about it, Gene, by process of elimination, and you do have to really go back in the history books, because there was an era when baseball wasn't as south or western regionalized as I guess you could say it is now. I mean, there were times when there were northern teams that were much better than they are today and things like that. But if you kind of think about it, Gene, yeah, California, we know. Texas, okay, yeah, we know. Florida. Does Florida have 4 or more teams? I mean, the Florida Gators, Florida State, Miami. Who else from Florida?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of UCF, Stetson, or US or somebody. I don't know.
We had a listener who's in IT or something. I'm going to go back and try and find it. He I think tweeted at us. Maybe he emailed the show, but he went through and put it together, compiled a list of state-by-state participants in the College World Series. So I'm going to try and find this during the conversation.
Please find that. I would be fascinated. It's not maybe North Carolina, because Wake Forest won a national championship in 1954. Matter of fact, Gene, I think that was the first one.
Right, it was.
NC State, North Carolina, Wake Forest, Duke, they've all been there. In East Carolina has not been there. Anyways, it's probably, I bet you it's only 4 or 5. And what's interesting about our state is that one of those 4 is the Citadel. And the other one is, I say the other one, their national champions, is Coastal Carolina. They're not big brand name Power 5 schools. That's what I think just makes this state so great in college baseball. Every level is so good.
Oh, it's ridiculous. And, yeah. I mean, Winthrop has been so good in baseball, and they're kind of one of those schools that's forgotten. I mean, even going way back, SC State's program is currently dormant, but they've produced major leaguers like Willie Mays Aikens, Leroy Stanton, and Gene Richards. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And Spartanburg Methodist, just one of the most successful junior college programs in the country, with multiple trips to Grand Junction, Colorado for the national championship series.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot. Does the state tie this series up tonight?
I like their chances. I just really think that they are the kind of team that fights back. And of course, I always want the ultimate drama, extra innings in Game 3, as long as I'm not there covering it. And so, yeah, I'm going to say that the Bulldogs do it, and we go to Game 3 on Wednesday night, which would just be a blast.
Okay. All right. So by the way, I have I got to get this in, Gene. You'll love this. So I have an update to the word challenge. Okay, Darren.
Oh, because he backed out of it last night. I'll give him a pass, because there's a lot going on, and he wasn't a fan of the strike zone either.
He didn't back out of it.
They changed?
Tony, no. So, Gene, do you know what we're talking about here? The word challenge?
I don't think I do.
Okay. All right. So, Tony Skull yesterday told us that him and Limo and there's a big group of them on a text, but him and Limo and Dan McDonald, of course, are the three that have to do this, mostly Mac and Limo, because their games are on national TV much more than anybody. And they have a word challenge. So when they know that they're going to be on TV, Tony is the word moderator, and he sends you a word. And when they do the in-game interview on national TV, you have to find a way to get that word into the conversation that you're having with the.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, with the broadcast team. So he told the story, I guess, a few months ago, how somehow Limo had to get the word queso in there, and he did. And Kyle Peterson was like, he dropped queso in there. He was, what was he even talking about? Well, last night the word was pals, P-A-L-S, pals, because they call it the Pals Tour when they go play golf together. But he didn't say it last night. He didn't say that word on national TV during the broadcast. And Tony texted me and said, hey, I meant to tell you that the word challenge is off if you're getting your rear end kicked.
That is hilarious. That is so outstanding.
So he didn't, but that word stands tonight. So if they're winning tonight in the conversation on ESPN, keep an eye out for the word pals, P-A-L-S. Somehow Limo is going to have to get that in there. If he doesn't, then he owes dinner to everybody else in the group. So he has to get the word in.
Well, and now I believe you're, at least in the Low Country, you're going to make ratings spike during the Chris Lemonis interview. So
that's right.
I was ready last night, and I was filming it. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, there is no way he's going to use the word pals when he is getting crushed. And the strike zone is pretty favorable to Leiter, who doesn't need that happening anyway.
It's a good point.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
And,
Strike zone was all over. Of course, it's J.I. Gamecock 10, Mr. Churchill. Here's the information, Gene. California has 15 schools who have been to the College World Series. Texas has 8. New York has 8, which makes sense because you got Army. Army used to be a perennial College World Series team. Massachusetts has 7. And then Florida, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Louisiana, North Carolina, Michigan, and Indiana all have 4. So 3, 6, 7. South Carolina is one of 11 states in the country with at least 4 teams who have been to the College World Series. That's a great step. Great step.
And it sounds like they might be the least populous, but I'm not sure. But
yeah,
that's what I like. If you go relative to numbers, that's how big college baseball is around here, and no surprise.
No surprise. That's a great point. All right, Gene. Shane Beamer hasn't slept in 6 months, as a matter of fact, and it doesn't sound like he'll be sleeping anytime soon. He had another commitment reveal himself today, a major tackle, Ryan Brubaker from Darren's neck of the woods, Penn State. But he's going to come down here. And there's 3 who have not been revealed publicly, but that's 10 in 10 days. What do you make about this recruiting flurry for the Gamecocks?
I think it's been building for a while now. It's been getting better and better. That's the good news. You know, the cautionary tale is that these are commitments, not signees, and things can still get really competitive, as, for instance, the Tennessee staff gets more comfortable on the recruiting trail. But I think it's looking really good. They've got a quarterback in that group, and the footprint has been somewhat expanded. Shane Beamer last week told David Cloninger and I in a Post and Courier confab that we had with the coach, you know, that he wants to maintain that traditional South Carolina footprint of the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida, but he wants to really get into that, you know, 757 in Virginia and suburban DC, and help Darren Goldwater plug him into high schools in that area, and Pennsylvania. And so I think you're starting to see some of this, and even Texas, they've got, you know, some good connections and a commitment there. So that's from coaching staff connections that they've got, and it's got to be encouraging. You know, this is going to be a process and a slow process for Shane Beamer and staff, because, as we've said, they're in a tough neighborhood. They've got quite a disadvantage right now, but it looks really good to me.
Yeah, you mentioned Texas. That is certainly, believe it or not, a state that they have circled. What was the most interesting? I didn't get a chance to watch every bit of y'all's. What do you call that? An interview, a beer? What do you even call that conversation you had last week?
I don't know. We were just kind of hanging out, I guess. But he was quite frank, and he, you guys know Shane Beamer. He's been with you, and he doesn't hold that many things close to the vest. Of course, there's some things he can't talk about, like some kid he's just about to get a commitment from or something specifically. But I'll tell you, to me, the most interesting thing, Jamie, is I think that 12-team playoff is just huge for South Carolina. Not that they're going to make it next year or the next year or maybe the next year, but it's something he can sell on the recruiting trail and say, see, this is a playoff that we can make and you can help us make. And in fact, we would have made it in 2011, 2012, and 2013 if such a concept existed. The 4-team playoff, you have to be really, really wearing garnet-colored glasses if you think the Gamecocks have a realistic shot at that anytime, even with Steve Spurrier, anytime. But 12 teams, we're in the game now.
That's a great point. You wonder, I don't know how much they've talked about that. Did you ask him? What was his response to that when you talked to him about the 12-team playoff?
No, I mean, he bid on it right away. He said, that's a good thing for us, and the more the merrier, and we're excited about it, and indicated that they are already selling that to recruits. So, like I said, I'm not sure that this current group of Gamecocks, as presently constructed, could get to the 12-team playoff. But down the line, we've seen that it's been possible just within the last 10 years 3 times. So it is something that is a very viable thing. And you know what? There are, I'd say about 6 schools around the country saying the same thing. And that's what's good about a 12-team playoff as opposed to a 4-team playoff in which there's about 7 or 8 teams saying that's a realistic team.
Yeah, I love that, Gene. That's a great point. You mentioned earlier, it's a small state. There's 5 million people. We have similar states out there like Georgia and, North Carolina, Mississippi. None of them have 2 perennial contenders for the national championship. Why would this state be any different?
Yeah, well, I mean, it is different. I mean, look at, for instance, population-wise, culture-wise and stuff, we're kind of similar to Arkansas. We're kind of similar to Louisiana. They don't have 2 powerhouse teams like we do, and Alabama obviously does. Mississippi maybe kind of does, but it's a different atmosphere here. And also, I've always thought, and you guys similar, we have real intense football interest, but we also have a lot of outside of sports interests that make South Carolina so cool. And I'm just going to say that's what separates us from Alabama. And I say this proudly so, that, we're intensely interested in football, but that's not all, because there's so much else to do and so much other fun stuff to do that they don't have the beaches and mountains in Alabama, and the food isn't as good either.
Any other things in Alabama? I mean, we can extend the show and just throw spears towards Alabama if you want.
Oh,
Paul, all I can say is this: Paul Feinbaum left Alabama for the Carolinas.
That's
not how it needs to be said.
That's a good point. Don't go sit at Dreamland Barbecue and try to tell them that their barbecue over there isn't as good as ours now. It's not going to work out well for you.
Well, I always go into Dreamland and I appreciate it, and I sneak my mustard sauce in there, and it's really good.
That's right. I'm with you. I take my mustard sauce everywhere. Final question here. It's probably the way you think about this. We all think about it a little bit differently. As it pertains to South Carolina, is it a good thing or a bad thing that Clemson is as good as they are?
I asked Shane Beamer, I said, now you have to play Georgia and Clemson, 2 of the best 4 programs in the country right now, Ohio State and Alabama being the others. He puts his hand up before I can finish that. And he goes, no. We don't have to play them. We get to play them. And again, that's what he's selling, not only to recruits, but to the fan base. It's a fun challenge, that sort of attitude, and I really like that. And Will Muschamp said similar things, but that's the way you have to look at it. I think iron sharpens iron in every aspect of life. So this is ultimately good for them.
Great stuff, Gene. Great stuff, as always. We want to wish you a incredibly happy 4th of July. Darren and I are going to take next week off to enjoy with our families, and we hope that you get some downtime as well. But you're always working really hard. I know that you just took a great vacation across America. I get that. But we won't have you next week. But once we get closer to SEC Media Days, you better believe it. We're getting fired up for that. So have a wonderful 4th, and thank you so much as always.
Thanks a lot, guys.
There you go, Gene Sapakoff with the Post and Courier. Time for timeout. When we return, though, Mike Yuva moderated the George Rogers Foundation event in Atlanta. He's got some stories, including what happened to Johnny Manziel. He'll tell you right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
Mike Morgan here for Gamecock Traditions. Baseball is going strong. You'll want to look sharp when you cheer on your Gamecocks. Under Armour, New Era, sideline hats, all with interlocking SC Baseball logo. 18 styles of $10 tees exclusively at Gamecock Traditions. Get on that email list by going to the bottom of the page, enter your email, and always be the first to know about new items as they arrive. You can also add a little Gamecock flair with house signs, garden flags, interior and yard decorations, only at one place, Gamecock Traditions.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
Bourbon and whiskey drinkers of Charleston. Paddock and Whiskey on James Island and the Terrace Shopping Center on Maybank is your home for the finest and rarest bourbon and whiskey drinks in the Lowcountry. This is where I hang out. Go meet my friends Reed and Chris and try one of their exclusive barrel pick bourbons. They have the largest private barrel collection in the state, and let their knowledgeable staff recommend your next pour. PaddockandWhiskey.com. Let not your heart be troubled. Paddock and Whiskey is here for your next double. We're all friends around here. Paddock and Whiskey, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the national anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
Final hour on this Tuesday afternoon, June the 29th. Welcome back. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. If you're headed for a late lunch, look no further, fella. You've found DB's Cheesesteaks in Avondale and West Ashley. DB'sCheesesteaks.com for their entire menu. Don't forget the boardwalk fries. They come with the Old Bay seasoning. DB'sCheesesteaks.com. Maybe try out my favorite. If you look at the menu and go, I just don't know. Well, here, now you know. And as they say, knowing is half the battle. DB's Cheesesteaks serves the buffalo chicken cheesesteak. I endorse it. DB'sCheesesteaks.com. They're on every delivery app known to man if you are in the low country. All right, coming up at 1:30, two mics don't make a right. The second mic of the afternoon will join us. That's Mike Morgan from ESPN and the SEC Network. Thanks to Gene Sapakoff. Fun conversation with him there in the last segment. And now the first mic of the day. Mike Yuva. We're sitting here talking about food. This dude's got a damn biscuit named after him, and it was a mistake.
Is it a biscuit or a sandwich? Can we get that settled?
That's a great question. It's like, is a hot dog a sandwich? I don't know. I mean, I feel
it's a biscuit.
It is a biscuit. Okay. I mean,
yeah, but there's stuff inside. There's meat and cheese inside, thus sandwich. Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, but what do you call a sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit?
That
a sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit
sandwich too.
Right. This is a chicken pimento cheese biscuit.
I make egg sandwiches in the morning, but I put them on English muffins.
I thought George Rogers was going to piss his pants because I may have said, I don't know if I shared this story on your airways before, but George was aware that I had this biscuit. And George, 3 years ago at his golf tournament, he gave me my very first pimento cheese sandwich. I never had it, and I thought he was going to smack the crap out of me. You know, he's just sitting on one of those holes where he's just sitting there having drinks. He's not playing golf at all, which he didn't do at all at his golf tournament. But, you know, when you're the big swinging Richard at the Cracker Factory, you can do that. So the point being is this. He gives me that pimento cheese. It changed my life. Someone showed him the commercial of the Bojangles biscuit, and I literally thought he was going to need a new pair of pants. I mean, that signature smile of his was times 10. And yeah, he's like, what in the world? Yeah, so it was something.
Dude. So, what's going to be funny is who's going to be let's see, who's going to be the first Gamecock football player to sign on with Bojangles eating the Uva with NIL.
I think if I had to put my money on it, I'd probably say Parker White or one of the special teams guys, because they have been very big with endorsing the Uva in the past. You know, when the thing came out, they did a lot of tweets. So perhaps the special teams group, and as we've seen before, specialists here at USC have done pretty good for themselves, especially after their days in college.
Yeah, they all have. They've done really well, actually, almost all of them. Especially if you're a kicker. Yeah, well, I can pull a string with Parker. Yeah, I grew up with his brother. You know, actually talked to his brother not too long ago. He sent me a message.
How about that?
Yeah, his brother was a kicker at Wando, and Parker's a kicker now at Carolina. Did you know that? It's pretty crazy. Wild stuff. Yeah, we'll have to keep our eyes on that. Ask Beamer who he thinks should endorse this deal. But Bojangles will have to pay him. You can't pay him.
No. So. I mean, if I pay him, they're going to get sent out to Guantanamo. I can't even speak right now.
Guantanamo.
Look, it's been a long week, all right? Before that, Garcia was in town. Perry Orth got married, all right?
Yep.
I'm sure my liver is trying to air out right now. That's why I took today off, too. So
yeah. Congratulations, Perry, by the way. I saw him a couple weeks ago, and really, what a great guy. He's just, I'm so excited for him. All right. Let's move on. Where, remember that show, Carmen Sandiego? Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Mm-hmm. Where in the hell is Johnny Manziel? Have you found him? Has anybody found Manziel yet?
No. But if you had to put money on it, which celebrity at the golf tournament it was more likely not to show? Probably Johnny Manziel would be the one that everyone would take. If you have like odds, I don't know what the odds would be, but he definitely would be at the top of the list. So, would have been great to see him. Marcus Allen, unfortunately, was under the weather. Tony Dorsett, I don't know if it's my place to really get into it, but the guy is, he's struggling, and I'll just leave it at that. It's a damn shame. And prayers to him and his family as he just continues to get old. And he played during an era where there's a lot of collisions, so I'll just leave it at that. And then Eric Crouch, unfortunately, wasn't there, but I mean, boy, what a special group, and it just speaks to that fraternity. I mean, that's one of the most special fraternities in the world, to be a Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, Lawrence Taylor was there, Larry Holmes was there, but to be able to have Heisman Trophy winners come out to support other Heisman Trophy winners, especially during an era when the running back position in particular was at an all-time high. It was very special, and I know for George and anyone that is close to him will tell you that brotherhood that he has been able to form with those Heisman Trophy winners, especially those running backs, and you could throw Spurrier in there too, even though he's a quarterback, means more to him than anyone will really ever understand.
No, and a kicker. Steve was a kicker too.
That's right.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, tee it up there, boy. Tee it up. Did George and Herschel decide who was better?
No. Well, here's the problem. Things were running behind, and the Q&A was cut in half.
Oh no!
And then on top of that, Johnny Rogers, the first receiver to ever win the Heisman, and he's had this back and forth with Tim Brown because Tim Brown will say that he won it, but Johnny's like, well, I played receiver, even though they put me at the wingback position on paper when I played at Nebraska. Johnny shared the story of how he learned to run. And all you need to know is Johnny got out of his chair, had a drink in his hand. I don't know if it was like cranberries and Tito's. He put it right on the stage, and he just kept going on for a good 5-6 minutes. And before he even told the story, because Herschel wanted him to share it, Spurrier, George, Mike Rozier, they're on the right of me. They're like, don't share it. Don't share. It wasn't even like in a laughing manner. Spurrier's just like, no, please don't. And he just kept going on and on and on. So that was a good part of the Q&A. And we got to Herschel at the very end, but it was just really brief. But a lot of great stories, we did debunk though. And we have to do a follow-up now with Beamer. According to Spurrier, Beamer did not get kicked out of his foursome group when he was an assistant coach, a story that Beamer has talked about, I feel like, ad nauseum. Yep. According to Steve, he said, and I'm not going to do my Spurrier impression. I mean, I was with the guy for about 3.5 hours, golfing with him yesterday. I mean, talk about being paired up with a legend. And that was quite the entertainment, too. On top of that.
You're going to fill us in on that in just a second.
But he says you can't believe everything that people say. And according to Steve says that Beamer was kicked out of the group for next year. He said that he was able to at least finish the round. So Shane says that he got kicked out after a hole or two. Spurrier says that he got kicked out the next year. So we'll have to do a follow-up now with Beamer and see if we can get to the bottom of that. I've been trying to get the video of that. No one really recorded it. It was like bits and parts, but I would love to share that video if we can get that up there because, those were the exact words from Coach Spurrier.
It's interesting because the guys who were supposedly in that F troop, none of them really corroborated it other than saying, I sort of remember that. There was no real, concrete evidence that it did, in fact, happen.
It's one of those things. It's like Bo Jackson, right? All the myths and whatnot. I mean, we're going to have little Beamer stories that go on. So maybe it would have been better just to leave it the way it was, but we had the opportunity to follow it up. And I'm asking the question, right? And we have two microphones. So Archie Griffin has the microphone to the left of me. I have 3 Heisman winners on the left, and I got 3 to my right. Mm-hmm. And I'm asking the question, and Spurrier, midway through, he's like, give me that, give me that, give me that. And he, George is right next to me. Spurrier's in the middle. He's like, give me that, give me that. And don't believe everything you hear. And he goes on and shares his version of what he remembers from that story. So I know Shane's been very busy these last 10 days, 10 commitments in 10 days. So I know he's a busy man, but maybe at SEC Media Days, we'll be able to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, this is a big story.
It is.
Forget the season. I want to know what the hell happened in Spurrier's foursome group with Beamer.
Hey, Shane, if you're watching or listening, you better call in and clear this thing up. we got a recruiting class on the hook here. We can't have recruits thinking that you're an F trooper or G trooper or whatever. Well, all right. Yeah, we'll stay on top of that, Mike. Somebody put a note down for us.
It's a good summer story to track down. I mean, look, there's nothing else really in depth. So let's go investigate deep on this.
Let's send Steve an email and ask him for a statement.
I'm back.
Hey, Fink, do you mind commenting on this? We really need some clarification before we can move forward. All right. Where were we? Oh, so you were in Spurrier's group.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I know a lot of people who play golf with Coach Spurrier. And Shane obviously has been pretty vocal about his experience. He's the shoot. He even told Cloninger and Sapakoff last week, yeah, you don't just walk up, pick the putt up, and say, well, that's 2 inches, tap in. Yeah, nope, you better putt it, boy. So what was it like playing with Steve? We all know he's competitive, and he doesn't care what you're doing. It could be badminton. You better hit that shuttlecock back over that net. What was that like for you?
Well, he had one of his old players there, Mike Allman, the punter for USC. So that's how I was kind of linked up with those guys. And, Mike had quite the weekend too. But on top of that, with Steve, I think the thing with Spurrier is, and that's the first time I've really been around him for an extended period of time. He can hit the ball. He can hit the ball. He had some really, really good recovery shots. I mean, I just think of one shot in particular. I thought I was at Augusta, the way he had that ball spin back. Now, I won't talk about the fact that it hit a hill and rolled back, but it rolled back. And he was, because it's a scramble. A lot of these charity golf tournaments, they're all scramble, try to keep the movement going forward and quickly as possible. But Coach Spurrier, he put that thing within a couple feet of the pin, and then Mike Allman was able to knock it down on the putt. So he's competitive. He's competitive. If he doesn't have a good shot, he'll be like, dang it. He has his visor because he always, still wears his visor when he golfs. Pull it down. He's like, dang it. And it was as advertised, but even better. And, just listening to the stories that he has, I mean, he's as authentic to a T, and it was really neat to be able to go out there and be able to golf with the guy.
Was he holding court? I mean, was he talking the whole time and telling stories the whole time?
Well, he had his own golf cart. So there was 3 golf carts in this group, and he had his own golf cart. So he was kind of off to himself, and I don't know if he has a couple phones, and I'm not trying to poke fun of the guy because my dad's had an older version of a phone for years, but he still has the flip phone. So he was on the phone for a bit towards the end of it. So I don't know, he would just come out. I mean, I remember he asked me where I went to school, and I told him Assumption. He's like, I'm not making an Assumption. Where's Assumption? He said, where'd you go to school? I said, no, that's the name of the school, coach. He's like, oh, all right. And then he just walked off and went to go hit his shot. So really nice guy, though. Really nice guy. And, unfortunately, I didn't have the chance to meet her a little bit more than I met her the first night, but I would have loved to have been able to talk to Jerry Spurrier. Yeah. I made a point to bring it up. It's going to be their 55th year of marriage. I don't even know exactly when their anniversary date is, but this year will mark 55 years. So it was neat to see Jerry Spurrier there. And, George was very happy to be sitting next to a fellow Gamecock and have him there. Steve, I don't know if it's the hips, I don't know if it's the knees. You can tell, obviously, he's just getting a little bit older. It happens. And obviously during the era that he played, he'll catch up to you at some point. But I remember at one point, he went out to go check the shot to see how far he was from the pin. And he's probably like, I don't know, 25 yards away from the golf cart. I'm like, Coach, you want me to get you a club? And he's like, meh. And he just walked right over and got it. So, you can't tell him that he's slowing down, regardless if, he does have a noticeable limp.
Yeah, he's got he's had some knee replacements, I think, if I remember correctly. But yeah, he's pretty active, man. I don't know if he was drinking a lot of beer out there on the course or not, but Steve,
I didn't see the banquet beer, unfortunately. I don't think that was one of the beers that were theirs, but I did see him have a Bud Light or two.
Yeah, I mean, he moves. He gets up and walks every day, and I mean, he used to be in the weight room in the mornings when the kids walked in. I mean, he'd get in there and work out and all those type things. I mean, he's a pretty active dude. Well, that's great, man. I'm glad you got to spend some time with him. I think what's most important is that the George Rogers Foundation raised a ton of money this weekend. Tell us about how successful it was.
Well, we'll get the final tally probably by Wednesday, Thursday, because it just takes some time when you factor everything in with the auctions. But one of the big donors this year, and it was a new sponsor, was Link2, and they come all the way from San Francisco. They donated $100,000. And, George's face, I mean, he got up there and he's like, you're about to make me cry. So it was really special for George. I mean, this guy, and I made sure to make it a point, to continue to remind people, because I had the privilege of not just moderating. I found out last minute that I was emceeing it. So to just continue to make it a point that, hey, we're here because of George. We're here because of what he's done for 3 decades. Think about that. 3 decades, the hundreds of thousands of dollars that he's been able to raise to be able to not just change the lives of first-generation students, but families across the country. I mean, it really is remarkable. And I think it does speak volumes, not just the Heisman Trophy winners that came out to support him, but the numerous celebrities that came out. I mean, as we mentioned, Lawrence Taylor, Larry Holmes, Hugh Green. I mean, it was incredible just to see the people come out to Atlanta, right outside of Atlanta, Marietta, because this was the first time that his event was held outside of Columbia.
Yeah, I think, Mike, I agree. I think that what he has been able to do, George Rogers, I'm talking about here, from the financial standpoint with this foundation, obviously, but bringing the big names in, off note on that, not to get carried away, but Johnny Manziel not showing up like that, you know what? Forget guys like that. He should never. I hope he's never invited back. I'm sure he won't be. George won't put up with that. Those type people, obviously, they're not in it for the right reasons. This is to help people, and we're just sitting here talking about that. And Johnny Manziel can't even show up, can't let somebody know where he is. Honestly, what a piece of crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just a piece of trash. Screw him.
And maybe there's another side of the story. Maybe there is. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, shoot, I don't work for the foundation. I'm not George. I'll let him deal with that. But the way I'll tell you this, and I know you guys have had the opportunities to over the years, whether you're covering it or whether you're taking part of it. There's been so many great charity golf tournaments and just charity events with celebrities I've had the opportunity to go to over the years. The way they organized this one was special. Because it really made people feel engaged with the athletes, because that's something that, I feel like over the years, depending on where you go and if it's a current athlete, but especially guys that are retired, they really kind of segregate the common man, right? They're just the spectators that want to go out and see these people. They let these guys mingle, and they want to mingle. I mean, Herschel Walker, for crying out loud, he wasn't there the second day because he has a lot of things going on right now, but he was there the first night, and you could have been a tree stump. He would have talked to you for about 10, 15, 20 minutes and give you his undivided attention, kind of like Marcus Lattimore. When Marcus listens to someone speak, he went around, he talked to everyone, photos, pictures, this and that. I mean, it was incredible. And, the other guys did that as well. Lawrence Taylor, as I mentioned, he doesn't have to be there. Right. He doesn't have to be there, but he took the time to do that. And it was a special group of guys there. And they just, I think, the guys that were there, they all kind of mesh in the same they all mesh the same way, with the room. It's not like, one guy's like, I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to stand over here, just keep drinking. Archie Griffin, shoot, he would go around, he would talk to everybody. This man is the only 2-time Heisman Trophy winner in the freaking world, and he's going around and he just looks like someone's grandfather, the way he's talking to people, It was just really remarkable, though. But I just think that goes to show that when George has events like this, it's not like these other events that you sometimes see. It's about being able to appreciate the people that are coming out, the people that are making a difference by donating money, and to show them, hey, we appreciate you just as much as you guys appreciate us.
What about LT? Did you talk about the water boy?
So LT wasn't part of the Q&A. I will say this, though. Introducing LT, I've never been more intimidated in my life. I'm just like, just make sure you don't stumble this guy's name, please. So I think I said something along the lines of, he, the baddest man to ever play defense in the NFL, Mr. Lawrence Taylor, and he gets up. I mean, when I shook his hand, that's a big boy. Him and Herschel don't age. Him and Herschel do not. Herschel doesn't age at all.
Nah, he doesn't.
But LT is a big, big man, and I'll tell you what. If there was a goal line situation and you need to throw LT out there today, my money is on him to be able to make the tackle. I don't care what level he's playing at. Throw him in the SEC. Throw him up against Alabama in the goal line. He's going to make the tackle. The guy he's still ready to go.
Well, wasn't it just a couple of years ago, guys? Refresh my memory. Wasn't it maybe just a few years ago that Herschel Walker was literally talking about trying to get back into some type of football league? Y'all remember that?
It was one of the summer leagues, right? Either the AF or the XFL.
Yeah, it was something like that. Like he was talking about playing. They're like, you can't play. He's like, have you seen me? Of course I could play. I mean, he is a man.
He was doing all the MMA stuff, and they talk about till this day. It is because I thought it was maybe a myth. Talk about Bo Jackson, some of the myths. He still does, they said, about 500 sit-ups a day, 500 push-ups. So if you go online, you type this stuff up. I mean, it used to be like 1,500 a day, but he's still doing a lot, and it shows. He'll go out there, does a lot of running. Apparently, a couple of years ago, it would be up to 8 miles a day. I don't know if it's up to 8 miles a day now of cardio, but he does this religiously. I mean, he's a machine. He's just absolute. And what the neat thing too is he was talking about it. He's like, when he won the Heisman, he felt like John Elway should have won it. Whether that's just him being humble now, it's a story. He said he didn't even know what the hell the Heisman was. And I think that's pretty neat when you look across the board at some of the guys up there. A lot of these guys didn't know what the Heisman was when they got into college. And they win this thing, and people look at them as gods. And it's just funny because, like I said, Herschel, Archie Griffin, you can go down the list. They were giving everyone the time of day.
Did they all bring their Heisman trophies with them, or just George?
Just George. And George.
Have you ever held that? It's heavy.
I picked it up for the first. So I've gone to George's event for 5 years now, and this is the first time I actually picked it up. They said, "You want to give it a lift?" I said, "Yeah, it's." I don't know, maybe about 30 something pounds, maybe low. I don't know what the exact number is.
Dude, it's heavy. It catches you off guard, doesn't it?
God, all I was thinking is just don't drop it. Don't be the guy. I mean, Eddie George, he had his Heisman Trophy snap. If anyone remembers that story, coming back from an airport, TSA made him put his Heisman through the what is it? The
screening. The
screen, right?
The metal detector, yeah.
And he's like, that thing's not going to fit. And they made him put it through, and the thing got stuck, and they were trying to lube it up by putting a bunch of oil on it and whatnot. Well, the thing finally comes out, and the middle finger, snapped off. I mean, they replaced it. But it's just why the hell would anyone say? But I mean, at that point too, the Heisman had been around for years. But fortunately, there was no damage to any Heismans this week, and to my knowledge.
All right, final question for you. And then there's only one answer to this, and then we got to let you run. Who was the best golfer out there? You only have one correct answer.
Oh, God, Meredith Taylor.
Don't screw this up.
I'm sorry that it took me that long to answer it. Wow, Meredith, I am so sorry.
I mean, I'm being honest now. I bet she was.
I followed her around for a little bit at the beginning. She had some good drives. We had that video of George. Was like, whoa, and she texted me. And she said, the funny thing is that wasn't even my best show.
Was that? I didn't read that earlier.
She texted this to me. She said, this was maybe about an hour ago. Mm-hmm. What's funny is this drive wasn't my best of the day. I hit 280, and one of the guys I was playing with said, I'm shook.
Yeah.
So Meredith Taylor shaking people down with her 280-yard drives.
I liked her flex in our little Twitter conversation. Yes. You put that thing up. I said that her goal was, or her expectation, birdie every hole, have a putt for eagle on the par fives, and then just slides in there. Yeah, we did that.
Yeah.
Great.
The winning team shot 31 under, though. So I don't know how many mulligans were bought.
Where did you finish, your group, you and Spurrier? Where did y'all finish?
Around
come on.
minus 24. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, the problem is everyone bought I mean, there was this one group that bought $300 worth of mulligans. I mean,
come on.
Like you're paying you're paying to win at that point.
That's not fair.
I mean, great. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, raising money and this and that. I mean, shoot, I even got in on the silent auction. I got my Dion poster. I'm fired up, but I did that. I didn't spend money on, 30 mulligans. I mean, come on.
You're not buying a victory here. This isn't college sports where you just buy victories.
No.
I bet Spurrier was livid about that. He can't stand that crap.
The last hole, he had a tough shot, and that's when he pulled his visor down, and he's like, no, just not my day.
Yeah.
And then he went up to putt, and there was like maybe 4 mulligans left. So they're going around. They're like, Coach, no. He's like, I just don't have it today. He's like, I'll let you guys. And he starts walking back to the golf cart, and they're finishing up, putting still, and everyone's shaking hands, and he was pissed. But I mean, Spurrier's still competitive. When he has a bad day on the golf course, stay away from him.
Yeah, yeah. He's not big on on the mulligan stuff, man. Just go out there and play it. You got to play it as it lies. No, you got to play it as it lies.
Yep.
Like Shooter says. Mike, we're gonna let you run on that note, brother. But thank you so much. That was a great recap, great report. Very happy for George Rogers and the foundation, and extremely happy for the young men and women who will benefit from these scholarships in the future. From what I understand, you did a tremendous job in Atlanta, so congratulations to you as well. We're going to be off next week for the 4th of July. So on behalf of Darren Goldwater and myself, we wish you a happy 4th of July, my friend.
Thank you, Darren. I put this out a little while ago. You'll appreciate this from a football standpoint. I got a text from an SEC coach, not at USC, after seeing what's going on with Coach Beamer, and he said, quote, Shane has always been this way. The guy wants to win, and he wants to win right away. So that just with the whole 10 commitments in 10 days, thought I'd pass that along to you. Other coaches across the country are taking note as to what's going on in Columbia right now.
Nice.
Yep, and it's not done.
Nope.
I would encourage fans, don't go too far because it's not done. All right, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Mike Uva with Watch Fox News in Columbia, South Carolina. When we return, Mike Morgan in Atlanta with ESPN and the SEC Network right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. It's springtime and we're playing ball. Most dealerships don't have any inventory, but at Stokes Volkswagen we do. So we're playing ball on every new Volkswagen in stock. Every new Volkswagen available with zero down. Qualified buyers can sign and drive with interest-free financing for 60 months. Remember, Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road is the fastest, easiest way to sell your car and get the most money for your trade. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, paid off or not. Is your credit in a slump?
Strike two.
If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, our lenders can get you approved. So if you want to strike out, that's okay. But if you want to hit a home run and save on a new Volkswagen, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road or StokesVW.com.
$1,666 per month per $1,000 borrowed for 60 months at 0% APR with zero down. Plus tax tag. Includes $499.50 administration fee. Subject to VCI credit approval. Expires month end.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Shrimping season's back. That means local caught shrimp. That's right. Local caught shrimp back on the menu at the Dog and Duck. All 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road, now featuring once again local caught hand-breaded shrimp, plus other daily specials like the Game Day Burger every Wednesday, Rib Night on Friday, rotating taps all the time, and all the TVs you can possibly imagine for whatever you want to watch. The Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road. Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon. Greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon. Greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon. Greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard. Final segment Tuesday afternoon. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes of Volkswagen's Power Hour, WandoPower.com. Tomorrow is that brown bag day over there at the Dog and Duck. But I will say, if you just can't wait any longer. It's kind of sticky outside, so maybe a refreshing beverage at the one of the 3 Dog and Duck locations in Mount Pleasant or on Daniel Island will do the trick for you this happy hour. Don't forget about our friends; they got their whole menu is fantastic. But if you can't wait for the brown bag special on Wednesday, try them out this afternoon.
Yeah, renewed focus on a lot of the local beers, too. So there's a ton, I can't even begin to list them all, of local beers at all 3 of the Dog and Duck locations. You got Park
Like
West,
Westbrook.
Yeah, Westbrook's one of them. Coast is one of them. But
that brewery, the Westbrook's right by you.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's 4 or 5 right up here in this area. But all around town. I mean, James Island, downtown, North Charleston, they got breweries featured. You can also go on the app. There's this Untapped, TAPPD app, where you can find what beers are on tap in certain locations, and Dog and Duck is one of them, and what's coming up on tap as well. Plus, they got their 20th anniversary party. It's been around 20 years somehow, and that is at the end of July. So there'll be a lot more about that 20th anniversary party too.
Keep me updated on that.
Don't worry.
I like to party. I like to be invited to parties. 8-2 the final last night. Vanderbilt over Mississippi State. Game 2 is tonight. If the Commodores win, they are once again national champions. But as I mentioned, they won't. Mississippi State will find a way to even this thing tonight, and we'll go to Game 3 tomorrow. Hopefully, there will not be any impending weather delays up in Omaha, Nebraska. If you are by the way, Mike Morgan will be with us in just a moment. So don't go anywhere. If you are one of the recruiting dorks out there and you like to keep an eye on the recruiting rankings and things like that, I don't believe that 24/7 Sports has updated theirs just yet. Let me make sure they have not. So those will be updated here before long, but the rankings over at Rivals have been updated, and South Carolina has jumped all the way to 21. Keep in mind, it's June, and this matters, but it does matter to many of you, and that puts them 2 spots behind Clemson, who are currently 19th in the country. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is behind Mike Morgan in any ranking, though. And that's why we're happy to have him on Tuesday afternoons. Hey, Mike.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Well, we're better now that you're here, our top-ranked broadcaster in all of America, all the world.
Is that what you tell the other guests that you have on there, too?
We don't have a lot of broadcasters, though.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. It's between you two. That's what I tell Darren, except for on Tuesdays.
Oh, I got you. Well, last week I barely beat out the mascots, so this week I'll try to beat out a very small list of announcers out there. But no, it's good. I appreciate. I'm sorry I'm late. We just JC and I wrapped up another JC and Morgan. Heather Dinich was on with us. She was fantastic. Talked a lot of playoff talk and NIL and all that good stuff. Went through over/under win totals for SEC teams. There's a little, my gift for you for a slow day coming up on the JB and Goldwater show. So anyway, you can catch that at a podcast spot near you.
Yeah, we won't ruin it for anybody. We'll just encourage folks to check out the JC and Morgan podcast, as we do anyways around
there.
Here.
You go.
It is really second to none out there. It is my favorite listen when I'm not listening to Eric Church. So
I can't compete with Eric Church. So
no, you can't.
Gladly take second place on that.
Nobody can in his book.
No, you can't.
Now, see, here's the thing. Like I picture Darren's playlist a lot different than yours, Jamie. So while you're listening to Eric Church, Jamie, what is Darren listening to? I'm thinking a little
ABBA.
Digital Underground. ABBA.
Oh, interesting.
Wow.
I couldn't name a Digital Underground song.
The Humpty Dance. Come on.
All right. Yeah. So I know I'm not a big music guy. I never have been. So I know some songs that I like. I mean, but nah.
I'm not a huge music guy either.
But yeah, that's it.
I watched a 2-part documentary on Kiss last night, and
I bet that was good.
It was fascinating, and I don't even like Kiss.
Yeah.
That was never my genre of music. But these guys, you can't get, like, I've got stories doing what I do that a lot of people are like, man, that's a great story. And for me, they are. But if you put me up next to Gene Simmons, I got nothing. I'm the most boring person on the planet. These guys they live in a different universe.
Yeah.
And it's always the same thing. You get the fame, and then you get drunk with success, and then you get the drugs, and then you go down, and then there's infighting amongst the band. And it's the same story every time, but it's always great when it comes to these things. So, yeah, it was really good.
Really good. How late did you stay up last night? Because you did watch the World Series, right?
When I saw, 7-1 in the first inning?
Oh, I got you. Yeah, with Leiter on the mound?
Yeah, I checked out.
So what'd you think about that call in the 5th inning? I mean, that's what everybody's talking
about. Couldn't tell you. I watched an insane amount of baseball this year, and I called a lot of baseball this year. You give me 7-1 in the first inning with the best pitcher in college baseball on the mound. Yeah, I checked out.
Well, let's take a different approach to this. It does appear, Mike, that Omaha has accepted or transferred maybe their hometown team acceptance from NC State to Mississippi State. I know that Starkville traveled unbelievably well. I mean, you could see it.
Yeah.
But those up there who are just fans, no, they're Mississippi State fans. They're not Vanderbilt fans. You can tell. South Carolina, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Gamecock fan, gladly admitted, but South Carolina was the last program that I could truly remember where they embraced everything about them 10 years ago. I mean, it was a magical. There's some similarities in these two teams. It has been really cool to watch. I think that'll carry them tonight. I think they even this thing up.
Well, first of all, Mississippi State's a great story. They're a great story to pull for. They've been to this thing 11 times, and they've never won one. I think a lot of people would be surprised to know they haven't won one, just because
the school's never won a national championship in
anything, right? One of 3 Power 5 programs to have that rather dubious honor. But when you think of high-profile college baseball programs, Mississippi State's right at the top. It's Mississippi State, it's LSU. And again, for a lot of people, their knowledge of college baseball began in the 80s. And from the Ron Polk days on, Mississippi State's always been up there. And, of course, the unique atmosphere at Dudy Noble Field and the cowbell and everything else that's unique about that. When you think of Mississippi State, you think of baseball, with all due respect to their football and basketball programs. So there's a lot to like there. And somebody asked me on a show this morning, why is it people like hate Vanderbilt? Some could say it's the Whistler guy. Some could say it's about whatever advantages they have in recruiting. But I think for the most part, Vanderbilt's been really good, and you just get tired of the really good. Nobody hates bad teams or bad programs. You hate winners, and Vanderbilt has been as consistently good as anybody, and they're the defending national champions. So I'm not surprised at all that the Omaha fans, once NC State was excommunicated, that they would inherit Mississippi State as their go-to team.
I haven't asked this question. I haven't even thought about it. I feel like I've now failed as a talk show host.
Don't be so hard on yourself. You're an incredible slouch.
Thanks, Gene. What do you think this would mean to Ron Polk if they can come back and win these?
Oh, it'd be great. And I don't even know if he's there. Did the cameras show him at all in these games?
Haven't seen. He's got to be there, Mike. He's got to be there. Right?
I would hope so. I would hope that he's in a suite somewhere. You know, the divorce of Ron Polk in Mississippi State, it wasn't the cleanest, as I understand it. And Ron is a very opinionated guy. I used to have him on my show when he was both coaching and semi-retired, and he was the one guy that would give me what every other coach thinks about 11.7, and he would just point it out. And the fact of the matter is, that's not a politically correct answer. But so Ron marches to the beat of his own drummer. But Ron Polk's not just responsible for Mississippi State being a baseball power. He's responsible for college baseball being a power. Before Ron Polk, nobody could have imagined having a suite at a college baseball stadium. They were the first ones up and down the first and third base line to install suites. You know who did the sales for that? They didn't have some executive in the athletic department. Ron Polk sold those. Because in order for those to be built, somebody had to prove that the money would come in to support it. Ron Polk did that. Ron Polk took college baseball to a whole other level. And he gets lost with, I guess if you're under the age of 30, maybe you don't know that. All you know is, well, he never won a national title. LSU won 6, and Vanderbilt's winning, and South Carolina won 2, and Florida won 1. And why do I need to worry about Ron Polk? Because Ron Polk grew the sport, and very few coaches have actually done that.
I agree. I always, when I think about Ron Polk, I think about the way that Coach Tanner describes Ron Polk and what he means to Coach Tanner. Did I ever tell you when I met Ron Polk? Did I ever tell you that story?
No.
Okay. Can I tell you? Do you have time for story time?
I mean, I'm here till 2:00, so
I mean, it's kind of our show.
Yeah, it is. I'm just crashing the party. It's your show.
Depending on how long the story goes, you might be here longer.
Well, we're powered by Wando Power Equipment, so if I start feeling a little weak because the story drags on, again, I'll just plug into Wando.
We've got a generator.
Good, good.
So you were the voice of the Gamecocks. This was in 2008, and if you remember, it was Coach Polk's final season, and they weren't good.
This was the year we went to NC State, by the way, and that was Russell Wilson starting at second base for the Wolfpack. Continue.
South Carolina was eliminated from the regional that year, and everybody wanted to fire Ray Tanner because the Smoke and Havens era didn't produce a national championship.
That's correct.
So Mississippi State wasn't good. I don't know if how well you remember that, but that Saturday, so Gamecocks beat them on Friday, beat them on Saturday. That Saturday night, I was in 5 points. No place I'd rather be on a Saturday night than in 5 points. With some friends, couple of Gamecock baseball players who weren't going out crazy. They just enjoying the series win for a little bit. And a bus pulls up in front of the bar we were in and unloads the Mississippi State baseball team at about 11 o'clock at night. I kid you not. And I thought, this can't be real. And these guys came in. Couldn't have been any nicer. They were, matter of fact, Mitch Moreland, I think, was still there. I'm pretty sure he walked in. It had to be because I saw Mitch somewhere. It had to be where it was. And we hung out with him and this, that, and the other. Proceeded the next day. Carolina beat the crap out of them on that Sunday afternoon. And I remember walking out of the Sarge, and there was Coach Polk sitting, the parking lot, Mike, behind the first baseline.
Sure.
He was sitting on the corner of the street, smoking a cigar by himself with his little bag around his shoulder. And I couldn't help myself. I had to walk up and introduce myself and just tell him that I appreciated everything he's done for college baseball. We sat there and talked for 10 minutes. He talked to me about life, didn't say one word about baseball, just about where you're going in life. And I walked away and I felt like I could probably go scale a 100-story building if I felt like it. And but I remember, and I remember though, just spending 10 minutes with him, the impact that it briefly had on me. I couldn't imagine playing for that guy. I feel like you'd win forever.
Yeah. Well, and he truly loved his players. I don't think I don't want to throw his social life out there, but I don't know if Ron's ever been married. I don't think he has kids. his family was his players. Absolutely just lived for coaching baseball and coaching his players. So, yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about Ron Polk, but if there's a Mount Rushmore of college baseball coaches, 0 national titles or not, he's on it, period.
I agree. He was not on the bus, though, in 5 Points. I still can't figure out how that happened.
I can tell you who was driving the bus was my buddy Everett Kennard over there. He's been driving the Mississippi State bus forever.
Well, ask him about that.
I will do that.
Let me know what was going on there. Why they decided after the series lost they'd just go get drunk. That was interesting.
Sometimes you got to drown your sorrows.
there are reasons there. Yeah.
Well, they got swept. So I don't know if it contributed or not. But they got their brains beaten on Sunday. What do you make of the NC State situation, Mike? We haven't talked to you since all this came down.
Yeah.
Disgusted the way it was handled. Disappointed for Elliott and those young men. And I don't know. I mean, I could probably go on for a half hour about it, but at this point,
what were you most disgusted by? The decision itself, the communication of the decision?
Both. You send out a release at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I can't help but think if this was the Final Four in basketball, if this was the playoff in football, that's not how it would have been handled. I can't help but think if it was a national power, even in baseball, it might have been handled differently. I just think, I just don't think it was handled very well at all. And what bothers me in the coverage of it, I understand people don't want to dirty their hands into these issues because unfortunately some people feel obligated to politicize everything. I've never saw COVID as a political issue. I've been vaccinated, but I'm not. I know plenty of people who haven't, and I understand why not.
Right.
I look at the situation and why are more people not asking the question about the vaccinated players that tested positive?
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
How does that just kind of minor detail? Most of the players that got tested positive were vaccinated.
Right.
No one even got COVID by playing college football. You think they're going to get it on the baseball diamond? You could have. You can always say, well, we're just going by the rules. They've been the rules all year long. Okay. Did the rules say you couldn't back up the games a day? I don't think ESPN would have fought it. It's not like there's not enough TV windows out there for ESPN and ESPN2 to air the games.
ESPNU.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it was messy and kind of the way we would expect the NCAA to handle anything these days. I don't think any of us have any confidence in them to handle much of anything. So on one hand, not surprised, but on the other hand, just disappointed. And look, that's not to say NC State would have won it, and I don't have a rooting interest. I just hate to see it end that way. And on top of that, it does affect the championship series because you just saw a fresh Jack Leiter on the mound. He would have pitched, even if they did beat NC State, he would have pitched for Vanderbilt. And I said this on Twitter, and I don't know if I say a whole lot of things with great wisdom on Twitter.
I don't.
But who does? But I threw it out there, and at least people saw this as somewhat enlightening or whatever you want to call it. I said, look, the most overused and improperly used word in the American lexicon today is conspiracy. And my point was, you can look at this situation and say the NCAA absolutely botched every aspect of it, and also at the same time not believe in a conspiracy that Vanderbilt is the reason why. I don't blame Vanderbilt for this. I don't blame Tim Corbin for this. Right. But in this world where if you don't like something I say, you're going to try to marginalize me and put me in a tinfoil hat and use the word conspiracy. We see this happen in politics all the time. It's not a conspiracy to say that this was not handled well, period. You might agree, you might disagree how it should have been done, but it's not a conspiracy at all. And most of the people that were upset about it weren't claiming that Vanderbilt was involved in some conspiracy to ruin it. Most people left the blame at the door of the NCAA. And in my estimation, that's where it belongs.
The issue with all of this now is there will be no issue. I mean, there's nobody who's going to have to answer any questions publicly.
That's the other thing. That's wrong. That's wrong.
There's no accountability, Mike.
One thing that Paul Feinbaum said yesterday on his show, and I agree with him, and it's not within Elliott Avent's nature to just throw a hissy fit, but he said the coach and the AD should have made a bigger deal about it. They should have raised holy hell. They should have dug in and be ready for, at bare minimum, a PR fight that you'll never forget. Now, that's easier said than done, right? Because you want to stay classy and you want to take the high road, and you know. But I understand what he's saying. Like, it almost was too easy for the NCAA. Like, take first of all, drop it off at 2 a.m. Always a good thing when you want to do a news dump. Do it on a Friday afternoon or the odd hours of the night, and then take the backlash for a few hours, and then just move on, and nobody will remember it.
Yeah. And
they took a gamble that NC State wouldn't cause too much of a huff or commotion, and they were right. If you read the AD's release, there was nothing there that you learned anything. It was just it was just regurgitating what we already knew, and not really saying this should have happened, or we're upset because of this or that. And oh, by the way, you had vaccinated players that were told they couldn't play. What's the point of the vaccination if you can't play with the vaccine? None of that happened. It was just like, we're disappointed, but we understand. And, congratulations to our athletes on a great season. Maybe that's the way to handle it. I don't know, but I thought Feinbaum actually hit on a key point that if they wanted to, they could have really made this an uncomfortable decision for the NCAA, and I don't think they necessarily did that.
Does this change how you'll view the champ, whoever it is, either Vanderbilt or Mississippi State?
No, there's no asterisk or anything like that. I mean, look, there are teams that have won national titles on bad calls. There are teams that have won it where there was probably a player that, received illegal benefits. And at the end of the day, history is history. I don't believe in taking away banners and putting asterisks behind it. Whoever wins it, wins it. And if Vanderbilt wins tonight, congratulations on a back-to-back, which is very hard to do. And if Mississippi State wins it, super congratulations, because they had an even more difficult road, because Vandy basically got a bye. But no, good question, but no, I won't look at it like that.
I think that's also back to the comments we made 20 minutes ago. I think that's part of the reason why a lot of these just fans of the sport of baseball who are here aren't not Mississippi State fans or Vanderbilt fans, but are pulling against Vanderbilt and for Mississippi State.
There's no question. There's some of that out there. There's that. There's the whistler. There's tired of seeing Vandy win all the time.
That guy.
And there's all that.
That guy is.
And I'm not going to bother Vandy at all. They're just going to go out there and do what they do.
Right. Well, I think one of the things that I mentioned this to Darren yesterday that really has, it's all bothered me, but one of the things that I can't figure out for whatever reason why nobody has pressed the NCAA on this, the NCAA put out a statement that per the recommendations of the local health department and the NCAA's medical team, that's what happened with, that's how they came to that decision. Well, I can't remember the name of the county that Omaha is in. They said, we didn't tell you to send them home. We said we would support whatever you do. We didn't tell you what to do.
Yeah.
So I'm saying this pretty boldly. They lied in a statement.
Yeah.
And nobody's even asked them about it.
I know. Is it Douglas County? Is that
sounds about right, but I'm not sure either.
I think it's Douglas. Here's the other thing.
Why would you lie about that unless you feel like you needed to lie to support your motive?
So we know the players and staff are tested before every game, right? They are. So they tested negative before the first game, the second game. Then all of a sudden they test positive. So what happened? They didn't have COVID when they went there. So then they just caught COVID in Omaha. Maybe they caught it at the casino in Council Bluffs. I mean, I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know.
There's a lot of stuff there that we'll never know. But I hate. Could you even imagine if this happened to a South Carolina or a Clemson?
There literally would be a riot.
I mean,
LSU.
I'm telling you, right? Or LSU. Good.
Are you kidding me?
But
they'd be playing. They would be in the ballpark playing there.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's like the old joke. The NCAA got so mad about the cheating in college basketball, they put Cleveland State on probation. I know NC State's Power 5, but NC State baseball doesn't have the same rabid fan base as some of the other teams we're talking about here.
Or poll. I mean, you think about the politics. I know it's at 2:00 here, so I guess you're on overtime pay. But like Texas. Are you kidding me? You really think they pull this move on Texas? The power that's at Texas, no shot. It won't happen. The ACC and he's a good choice. They have a good commissioner, but he is a first-year guy. Yeah, Jim Phillips.
Jim Phillips, thank you. Whenever I say that name, I'm like, that can't be right. That's the former Clemson play-by-play guy.
I know. That's what I thought.
I mean, I always feel weird saying Jim Phillips commissioner. Yeah. But if Greg Sankey's in that spot, and Greg's in Omaha, which I'm sure he is, and he said, whoa, wait a minute now. Let's put our heads together and get a solution other than just firing off a release saying they've been sent packing at 2 a.m. I don't know. We'll never know.
Yeah, we won't, Mike. And I get where people come from. Hey, they knew the rules. The rules are the rules. Well, rules can be changed if they need to be changed. If it makes sense to change the rules. This hurts. It hurts. I think it hurts the sport big time. And
well, it does, because it was a great story.
It's a great story.
And it's a great College World Series. And
it has been.
The prevailing headline now is what happened to NC State.
Right.
In a game that's been growing. Overall, the landscape is growing.
Well, and I always talk about, look, what conference my allegiance is to. But I always talk about the importance of college football. If it's the same Southern schools and Ohio State battling for a title every year, that's not truly what's best for the sport as a whole. Mm-hmm. Well, in college baseball, if it's the same 5 teams winning the national title every year, right, that's not necessarily good for the growth of the game. NC State was a really good story. Mm-hmm. So they would have been an interesting story to have in there as opposed to 2 SEC heavyweights, But again, I have no rooting interest per se, but I'm sure a lot of people at the highest levels of the sport, and for that matter, even ESPN, always looking at ratings and everything else. You think about these things.
Mm-hmm. Go State, Hail State, Hail State, Hail State. Mike, you need to go back and if you get a chance, check out our conversation yesterday with Tony Skoll about the magic word. About the magic word.
I saw you tweet that.
You got it. Tonight, there's a little bit of an update to that story because Tony texted me this morning and said, by the way, if you're getting your ass kicked, you don't have to get the magic word into the TV interview. And last time they were getting their brains beat in.
Fair rule.
So probably not, let's not play games on national TV while we're getting
right.
But if they're winning tonight, you'll hear the word pals somewhere in Chris Lemonis's in-game interview with KP and Ravitch and whoever the hell else is up there. Eduardo Perez.
Do they know about that?
I
know the producer, and obviously I know KP and Eduardo to an extent, but I gave them a little background on the whole South Carolina connection with Lemonis and Foxhall and everything else. I don't know if they used it in game 1, but I'll be happy to pass along the password.
You gotta send that over.
It's about the 20-minute mark of yesterday's show. Right about that. When we get Tony on.
It's between McDonald and Limo and Tony. Tony comes up with the word. And there's a bunch on this text now, old teammates at the Citadel, but obviously these are the two guys who are on national TV,
right,
coaching their teams the most. So they have to. But apparently Mac, who they call Yankee, he gets a bunch of words that aren't easy, or they're longer words. Like he gets like words. How do you get the word wine into a conversation? So he gets all upset about it. So So and Limo generally gets the easier words because he's on Tony's golf team. They call it the Pals Tour when they play golf. The Pals Tour.
So you're saying in the interview today, the word pals will be used
if they're winning. If they're winning,
if they're winning,
right?
Yeah. If they're losing, they don't have to get the word in.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the word? What was the word? And what do you know what the word's going to be if there's a third game?
No, I don't. Tony just sends it in a text, but I can find out for you.
But we do know earlier in Omaha, the word was queso. And I don't know, you probably
No, it was earlier in the season.
No, it was Omaha. It was
absolutely
positive because KP answered it with like, oh wow, he's got to be hungry. It was Omaha. It was somewhere in Omaha.
Well, it has to be Omaha because we weren't allowed to do coaching interviews until the Super Regionals.
Yeah,
we did not do a single coaching interview in game throughout the entire season and regionals. We didn't do them till the Supers.
Yeah. Well, coaches rejoiced, I bet. However, he dropped queso in like, I don't know, someone's on fire or like
this guy's throwing some cheese or something.
He's throwing some queso.
Yeah, and
some high queso.
And he responded to it unaware of why a coach dropped queso.
Yeah.
All right, pals. I'll pass that along. I know the producer. I'll pass that along. I don't know what they'll do with it, but I'll pass that along.
I'm telling you. If you need to Zoom me in, just let me know. I'll try to fit it into my schedule between changing diapers and things like that.
Yes. I will do that.
We could tell you a bunch of old Fox stories.
I'm sure you could.
Mike, it's been a pleasure, my friend. We won't talk to you next week. We are off.
You got another week off? Boy, you guys.
Vacation. I'm going to the mountains, and Darren is going crazy.
Yeah. Nuts.
I don't see crazy coming out of Darren. I see, a bottle of wine
and his ABBA CD.
And his ABBA CD and maybe a Saved by the Bell marathon day.
Yeah. I'm gonna wear neon like orange shorts or something.
There you go.
Hey, don't be hitting on my girl Kelly Kapowski now. You can have the turtle chick and another girl.
No, I'm not taking Lark or the one who was in the movie. It was a Showgirls.
Jesse.
I'm all about Tiffany Amber Thiessen. Yeah, remember, she was on 90210.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. And that's in my wheelhouse.
Are you who's a Screech guy? Or who are you, Screech, Slater, or Zach?
Oh gosh, what a choice! What a choice that is. Do you want the guillotine, the gas chamber, or death by firing squad? I don't want to be either one of those clowns. Come on.
I'm a blend of all. I'm the cool guy. I'm the most athletic guy and the smartest.
Oh. Hey, you're more like Mr. Belding.
Hey, I interviewed him.
Yeah, huge Chattanooga fan. I've interviewed him too.
I mean, was he at a minor league baseball game?
No, the UTC. I don't know if he's a donor there. He's around all.
No, he is. I know that because I did the UTC South Carolina football game 3-4 years ago, and we were trying to find out famous alums. And we came up with Mr. Belding. And then I have a picture when I was doing the Gwinnett games on TV, Brian Jordan and I, every now and then their head of marketing would come up with these random celebrities. So I have two pictures. I mean, I got a bunch of former Braves that I interviewed there. Everybody from Dave Justice to Sid Bream to Mark Wohlers and on and on and on and on. But my two proudest, Mr. Belding, and we're just sitting there. I don't even know why I'm interviewing Mr. Belding in the fifth inning of the Gwinnett Braves versus the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. And then my other one was Sergeant Slaughter.
Oh.
And I have to send you guys a picture. You can use it next time I'm on. I have a picture of Sergeant Slaughter having me in a headlock.
Nice.
And I'm like struggling to breathe, and Sergeant's like, ugh. And I thought it'd be a funny gag, and then he did it for like 10 seconds, and I was like, you might have took that a little too seriously, but thank you. Thank you for the time. Yeah, he's not a very good method actor. He kind of forgot we were just playing around. But anyway, I'm still alive.
Thank God.
Thank God for that. Enjoy your vacation. I'll be powered up by Wando, and I'll remind everybody, if you want a nice summer gift, there it is on your screen. Or for those just listening, Stuart Wingo, a man who looks like Mr. Belding, a man who has the same diet as Sergeant Slaughter in his 70s, but a man who, despite all that, still saves you money on a new mortgage. 803-319-1777. When I say save, I mean like big time save. He's done it for me 4 times over the years. He'll do it for you no matter where you live. 803-319-1777.
And of no relation to Scott Wingo.
No, not at all. Scott Wingo's a good-looking, athletic guy with a sense of humor and no.
See, the combination of the Saved by the Bell guys. That's what
yes. It's Darren Goldwater, Scott Wingo, and the terrific trio of Saved by the Bell. Where are we going with this segment? I don't even know.
Bye.
All right,
Go to lunch break.
have a fun vacation.
Thanks,
See
Mike.
you guys.
All right. Thanks, Darren. Thanks, Dick Belding.
Yeah. By the way, he loves it. I mean, he still plays into that. He welcomes the entire thing.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'll hear more about that tomorrow with JC. JC lost one of his turtles.
How?
It poured rain and flooded out the pool, and he floated away. He'll tell you the story tomorrow. You're not going to believe it. Thanks to Gene, Mike Yuva, and Mike Morgan. Thanks to all of you. Hail State. See you tomorrow at noon on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.